Hello again. I'm going to demonstrate for you a BC-454B receiver. This receiver covers from 3 to 6 megahertz and receives AM single sideband actually quite well, and CW. These receivers, in case you're not familiar with them, are part of the SCR-274N system, which was used by the Army Air Forces in World War II. This receiver here is at least 70 years old. When I got it, as with so many of the others that I have, it was not working and was in pretty bad condition. I've refurbished it, and it is now working at least as well as it did when new. When I got it, of course, this front panel here was not finished and was very poorly done. I've redone it. And the other conversion they made was that they converted the tube filaments to operate from 12.6 volts rather than from 25.2, which they did when they were used by the Army Air Forces. The power supply is my usual power supply, which I built out of Radio Shack parts, and it works quite well with these receivers. Now I would like to show you one other thing, and that is that this panel I've left there's quite a bit of room on this panel for other controls. If I was going to use this receiver myself, I might add the controls that I've added to this particular receiver here. This again is another slightly different model of BC-454 receiver, which in its original configuration tuned from 3 to 6 megahertz, as the black one does. However, this one had been converted very poorly to cover the 27 to 30 megahertz ham band, which existed at the time, about 1970. None of the inductors or capacitors were the correct values, and there's no way, the way it had been done, that it could tune that full range. Now it tunes from 28 to 30 megahertz and does a very good job of it. The controls that I have added here, this is the RF gain control, which corresponds to this one here. It's the same type of control. This control is an added IF gain control. What it actually controls is the cathode gain of the first IF amplifier, and I've added regeneration to it to increase the selectivity a bit. And this control is an audio gain control, and what I've done there is I've moved the diode load resistor to the front panel and use it as the audio gain control. It works quite well. This switch is for turning the BFO on and off, and this switch here is for turning the noise limiter on and off. Anyway, that's why I've left this front panel on this receiver with so much room, so that if I sometime in the future I may want to add those other controls to that. All right. Also, this for some reason or other, all the people who used to convert these things back in the 1970s would mount the phone jack over here, which I've always thought was kind of silly because it would actually fit right here. Or if you were to do the front panel like this, you could mount it down in these points. Okay, there's room in the back right here. All right, this receiver right now, oops, let's get cranked down a little bit harder here. The receiver is tuned to about 3.5 megahertz, which you can see here by looking at the dial. Okay, calibration is fairly close, but not perfect. But they were never designed to be that perfect. And right now I'm receiving a signal from my HP 8640B signal generator here, which is also tuned to 3.5 megahertz. The signal level output is set to the 1 microvolt range, and I'm feeding 400 hertz audio modulation at 30% modulation to it. So it's an AM signal. As you can hear, with this 1 microvolt signal and with the RF gain control wound up to its maximum, the 1 microvolt signal is quite clear. Now, just to give you an idea of the sensitivity of this receiver, I'm going to turn the range control on the signal generator down to the 3/10 microvolt level, and you can still hear the signal. So these receivers are unusually sensitive. The same sensitivity holds true across the whole band. I've checked it at both ends, in the middle, and all the hand band, and on WWII. This control here is one I've built, and I will show in another video how to make these. It's very simple. All it requires is a piece of 1/4-inch brass tubing, and the knob is one from Radio Shack. And by cutting 2 small slots in the end of the brass tubing, it can be forced easily over the splined shaft in the receiver. And if you wish, you could even glue it in there with some super glue, and that would make it so it would never come out. Anyway, there is no backlash, none whatsoever on the dial. Now, if I switch the modulation off on the signal generator and turn the BFO on, you can hear the carrier is still there, and that's a 3/10 of a microvolt. If I turn my signal generator down to 1/10 of a microvolt, you can still hear the signal. It's very, very weak, but you can still hear it. This indicates the receiver is extremely good sensitivity. Right, now I'm going to show you what we've done to the bottom, how I modify these receivers to operate. Alright, here we go. Now, I replaced the can capacitors. I'm going to show you a couple of those, by the way. Here is one of them. They line the sides here. There are usually 6 of these, and at least one like this, which is much larger, and a choke in the back like this. It is really only necessary if you're going to run on the dynamotor, so we take that out also, giving an awful lot of room. And then I replace these can capacitors with these metallized film capacitors here, the 400 volt DC types at 0.047 microfarad. Now if you look carefully, you'll see where I've marked each capacitor put in there to be certain that it's in the correct place and replacing the right capacitor. This capacitor here, by the way, is the cathode bypass capacitor of the audio amplifier, 12A6 output stage, and the original capacitor is quite a bit larger and looks like, I'm not sure, I've got one here somewhere, I think. Actually, I guess I don't. No, but anyway, it's about this size here. Okay, so it's quite a bit larger than the original type. That's a 22 microfarad 35 volt capacitor I put in there. Now, as with the older receiver, the other receiver I had up some time ago, this is again is the audio transformer, this is a BFO transformer, and this is a coil box containing the RF amplifier coil, the mixer coil, and the, as you can see, oscillator coil. As you can see by looking behind the front panel, there's quite a bit of room to do other things back there. I wish my camera would be a little bit more, better about focusing, but it isn't for any reason. Alright, so that's it for now, and I'm going to start another video showing this receiver, demonstrating this receiver being tuned to various amateur radio stations, to WWII, to shortwave broadcast stations. There's even a frequency where I was listening last night to some sort of airport control tower from San Francisco. Some woman aircraft control tower was coming in quite strongly. I could hear the aircraft, although they were very much weaker, but she was very strong. Anyway, I'll show that to you later on, and then until then, we'll see you later. Bye bye.